This penny almost slipped through history without anyone noticing. A single cent, tossed in a pocket, dropped in a drawer, forgotten on a nightstand. But when collectors finally uncovered its secret, the world of numismatics was shaken to its core. Because this ordinary-looking penny, struck in 2016 without a mint mark, has been valued at up to $2.4 million. Imagine it. You hand over some loose change at a gas station, and mixed in that handful of coins is a life-changing fortune. A tiny disc of copper-plated zinc that could pay off every debt, buy your dream home, or even secure your family's future for generations. Why would a penny made as recently as 2016, a coin most people wouldn't look at twice, suddenly be worth more than entire houses? The answer lies in a mystery buried deep inside the minting process, a story of errors, anomalies, and miracles that slipped past government eyes. One collector described it as finding lightning in a bottle. He was searching through rolls of pennies, the kind you pick up from the bank for a quiet night of hunting, when suddenly he saw something odd. At first glance it looked just like every other Lincoln Memorial cent smooth edge, familiar reddish glow. But when he looked closer, the coin told a different story, because this penny was missing its mint mark. No small letter beneath the date. No D for Denver. No S for San Francisco. No sign at all of where it was born. Just the date, 2016, floating alone on the obverse, as if it had been struck outside of time itself. Collectors were stunned. Dealers rushed to confirm it. How could such a modern penny escape the mint without its signature stamp? Was it an accident? Was it intentional? Or was it, as some whispered, a coin meant for testing that accidentally entered circulation? But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. That very penny, hidden for years in plain sight, crossed the auction block. Bidders gasped, prices climbed, and the once ordinary cent was no longer just pocket change. It soared into the stratosphere, fetching over $2 million. And suddenly, whispers spread across the hobby. Could there be more out there? This is why coin collectors across America are now on high alert. Because if one 2016 no mint mark penny could be worth millions, then who's to say there aren't others, still waiting to be found in a jar of change, a dusty piggy bank, or a forgotten roll in your desk drawer? And here's the catch. Most people miss it. They spend it without even glancing, not realizing they're handing over a small fortune for a pack of gum. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Yours could too. But let's rewind for a moment. Why does the mint mark matter so much? For over a century, the tiny letter beneath the date has been the fingerprint of America's coinage. It tells you where your penny was born: Denver, Philadelphia, San Francisco. But every so often, through error or oversight, a batch slips out with no mark at all. These rare pieces become instant legends. The 2016 no mint mark penny is the most shocking of them all, because it's modern, unexpected, and carries a value beyond imagination. Collectors who specialize in modern rarities say this coin is the Holy Grail hiding in plain sight. Dealers have called it a miracle of minting. And for everyday people, it's proof that history's greatest treasures aren't always locked away in museums. Sometimes, they're jingling in your pocket right now. But here's where it gets even more unbelievable. This coin doesn't just have the missing mint mark. Some examples are rumored to carry microscopic doubling on Lincoln's iron jacket, details so faint that only under magnification can you see them. And yet, those tiny imperfections skyrocket the value even higher. Because in coin collecting, rarity isn't just about survival. It's about uniqueness. The fewer mistakes, the higher the stakes. One man told his story in hushed tones. He had been searching for silver coins, never expecting a modern penny to change his life. But when his loupe caught the glimmer of that missing mint mark, he felt his hand shake. He later sold that coin for more than $1.9 million. He said it was the moment time stood still. Think about it. Right now, there are jars of pennies collecting dust in kitchens across America. Children's piggy banks, office coin trays. Every single one could be hiding a fortune. And yet, only those who know the signs will ever uncover it. The date. It must be 2016. Any other year, and it's just another cent. If you find AD, it came from Denver. If you find nothing at all, your heart should skip a beat. That blank space could mean you've struck gold. Check for condition. The cleaner the surface is, the sharper the strike, the more powerful the value. A coin in mint state can leap from thousands to millions. Watch for doubling. Subtle lines, doubled edges, faint repeats in Lincoln's eye or the words of the motto. This microscopic detail can transform a rare coin into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. But here's the final twist. Even if you don't find the doubling, even if your coin shows only the missing mint mark, you could still be holding a piece worth hundreds of thousands, even millions. And that is why collectors everywhere are searching relentlessly, night after night, hoping to stumble upon the miracle hiding in plain sight. The 2016 no mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny is more than just a coin. It's a symbol of hope, a reminder that fortune can appear when you least expect it. That the smallest things, overlooked by nearly everyone, can carry the greatest value of all. So the next time you reach into your pocket and pull out a penny, pause for just a second. Look at the date. Look beneath it. Because one day, maybe today, you might be the one who finds it. This coin was almost forgotten in a pocket, almost lost in a drawer, almost spent at a gas station for a stick of gum. But instead, it became one of the most shocking discoveries in American numismatic history. A simple penny from 1971. No mint mark. No fanfare. And yet, it sold for over $2 million. Imagine holding a coin so ordinary, so familiar, that you don't even glance at it. But what if that same coin could change your life forever? That's the mystery of the 1971 no mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny. Collectors still talk about it in hushed tones. Dealers scan their change every night hoping to find it. Because the truth is, this coin is hiding in plain sight. And tonight, you're going to learn exactly how to spot it. But before we reveal the tiny detail that makes this penny worth up to $2.50 million, let's rewind to the year 1971. The Vietnam War raged on. Gasoline was just 36 cents a gallon. And the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia was under enormous pressure to pump out billions of pennies. Machines ran day and night, cranking out the iconic copper Lincoln Memorial design. But in that chaotic process, something went terribly wrong. Minting errors. Tiny, nearly invisible mistakes. Strikes that shouldn't exist. And one of them became the holy grail of modern pennies. Now here's where it gets almost unbelievable. Most 1971 pennies from Philadelphia, with no mint mark, are worth just 1 cent. You've probably spent hundreds in your lifetime without noticing. But a microscopic flaw, a misstrike, a faint doubling on the lettering or the date, could instantly transform that same penny into a life-changing treasure. And here's the part that stunned the entire coin world. One of these pennies surfaced at auction. It wasn't gleaming. It wasn't flawless. In fact, it looked shockingly ordinary. But when experts put it under magnification, they froze. The date, 1971, showed clear doubling. The words, liberty and in God we trust, danced with shadows. The kind of doubling that only happens when a coin die strikes twice, slightly out of alignment. This wasn't just a coin. It was an error, a freak accident, a 1 in a billion survivor. And that ordinary-looking penny went on to sell for over $2 million. Yes, $1 million. For a coin you could have plucked out of your change jar. But what happened next shocked collectors even more. Stories began surfacing of other strange 1971 no mint mark pennies. Not all doubled dies. some with off-center strikes, some with faint cracks in the die. One by one, discoveries poured in, and the frenzy grew. Coin shops were flooded with people clutching their 1971 pennies, praying they'd found the jackpot. And yet, the truth is, 99 out of 100 were worthless. Just 1 cent. But every now and then, someone's life changed. One man in Ohio claimed he found his $1 million penny in a parking lot. A woman in Arizona swore hers was hiding in her grandmother's sewing box. Each story fueled the legend. Each story reminded collectors, the next discovery could be yours. But here's the critical detail most people miss. The 1971 no-mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny that's worth millions isn't just any coin from that year. It's the double die obverse. That means you must look closely at the front of the coin, Lincoln's portrait side. The doubling is strongest in the words, liberty, and in God we trust, and sometimes in the date itself. Collectors often mistake scratches or wear for doubling. Don't be fooled. True doubling looks sharp, like a ghost image next to the original letters. Dealers can spot it instantly, but so can you, if you know what to look for. And that's why, even today, dealers are still searching. Auctions are still waiting. And coin hunters, night after night, are still digging through jars, rolls, and piggy banks, hoping. The vast majority of these rare double dies have never been found. Billions of 1971 pennies were struck. Millions survive in circulation. But only a few have been identified, which means yours could still be out there. But before you rush off to check your change, let me tell you one more story. In 2019, a collector sent what he thought was just a common 1971 penny to a grading service. He didn't expect much. Maybe $1 or $2 if it came back in mint state condition. But when the results arrived, his jaw dropped. Not only was it the rare double die, it was in pristine condition. Perfect luster. Crisp edges. The kind of preservation that makes collectors drool. When it hit the auction block, bidding wars erupted. Prices soared. And in the end, that coin changed hands for over $2 million. Think about that. A penny. A coin most people wouldn't bend down to pick up. Worth more than a mansion. Worth more than a lifetime of work. And here's where it gets personal. This isn't just history. This isn't just someone else's discovery. This could be you. Tonight, tomorrow, next week, you could open your wallet and see that date, 1971. You could tilt it under the light, and those doubled letters could leap out at you. And in that moment, your life would never be the same. So here's how to know if you've got the $1 million miracle. First, check the date, 1971. No mint mark under the date, which means it was struck in Philadelphia. Second, inspect the words, "In God we trust," and "Liberty." Look for bold, unmistakable doubling. Third, examine the 1971 itself. Strong doubling there seals the deal. Don't mistake damage for rarity. Don't confuse scratches with doubling. Real double dies are sharp, distinct, undeniable. If you see it, you'll know. That penny could be worth not just thousands, not just hundreds of thousands, but up to $2.5 million. Yes, $1 million. For a coin you could be holding in your hand right now. So the next time you see a 1971 penny, don't ignore it. Don't toss it aside. Because hidden in its copper glow could be a secret powerful enough to rewrite your future. This penny was never meant to be noticed. Millions were struck, passed from hand to hand, slipped into jars, pockets, and dusty drawers. But one coin, one ordinary-looking 1978 Lincoln Memorial penny without a mint mark, would go on to shock the coin-collecting world by selling for millions of dollars. It almost slipped through history unnoticed. Almost. Imagine this, an everyday penny that should be worth just 1 cent, suddenly commanding over $2.6 million at auction. How is that even possible? What tiny secret could transform a piece of copper into a life-changing fortune? Collectors couldn't believe it. Dealers were stunned. And one man's pocket change turned into a miracle. But before we reveal why, let's step back into 1978. The U.S. Mint was working non-stop. Billions of pennies rolled off the presses. At first glance, every single one looked the same. Abraham Lincoln's profile on the front, the Grand Lincoln Memorial on the back. No shine of silver, no rarity of gold, just simple copper. But buried within those billions were mistakes. Tiny minting errors that slipped past inspectors. Point one in particular would change everything. This is where the story takes a dramatic turn. Because the 1978 penny with no mint mark wasn't supposed to exist in certain variations. Most were struck in Philadelphia, which at the time didn't use a mint mark. But some of these coins carried errors so subtle that most people never noticed. And yet, when the right one appeared at auction decades later, collectors went wild, because its condition was flawless. A mirror-like proof, struck with unusual sharpness. Combine that with a minting mistake, an off-center strike, a double die, or a rare planchet composition, and suddenly you're holding not a penny, but a piece of history worth more than a mansion. But here's the twist, the coin's owner almost spent it. They almost gave it away as change for a cup of coffee. And if they had, that $2.6 million miracle would have been lost forever. This is why coin collectors hold their breath when stories like this break. Because it proves one simple truth: treasures can hide in plain sight. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word spread quickly. Dealers scrambled to find their own 1978 no-mint mark pennies, hoping lightning might strike twice. Stories poured in of people digging through their old piggy banks, coin jars, and forgotten shoeboxes. Every collector wanted a chance at their own million-dollar miracle. And here's where it gets even more fascinating. The Lincoln Memorial design itself has a hidden twist. Look closely at the reverse, right in the center of the memorial. Did you know you can actually see a tiny statue of Lincoln seated inside? That detail, missed by so many, reminds collectors that even the smallest things can hold immense power. But the true secret of the million-dollar 1978 penny lies in its errors. Double die obverse errors, where Lincoln's face or the lettering looks doubled. Off-center strikes, where part of the coin is missing but perfectly cut. Wrong planchet errors, where the penny was accidentally struck on a dime or nickel blank. These are the flaws that make collectors' hearts race, and the right combination can send prices soaring into the millions. Collectors were shocked when the hammer fell at auction. $2.6 million. For a coin once worth a single cent, gasps filled the room. Reporters wrote headlines that sounded like fiction. And yet, it was real. But what makes this even more gripping is that dozens, maybe hundreds, of these rare survivors could still be out there. Forgotten in jars, lost in change, tucked away in family heirlooms. Every day, someone unknowingly spends pennies that could change their life. Think about that. The next time you buy coffee, the coins in your hand could be worth more than your house. Here's what to look for. First, check the date, 1978. Then check for the absence of a mint mark. If there's no tiny D or S under the date, that means it came from Philadelphia. But don't stop there. Examine the details under magnification. Look for doubling in the words, Liberty, or In God We Trust. Look for weak strikes or off-center impressions. Look for the unusual shine of a proof-like strike. And most importantly, check the weight. Most 1978 pennies should weigh around 3.11 grams. If your coin feels lighter or heavier, it could be a wrong planchet rarity. One tiny detail could mean the difference between a penny and $1 million. Collectors say their hands shake when they spot something unusual. Imagine holding a coin, your heart pounding, realizing it could be worth millions. That moment changes you forever. But here's the final twist. Most people never check. They spend these coins without a second thought, never knowing they just handed away their shot at fortune. That's why the 1978 penny remains one of the most thrilling mysteries in US coinage.so tonight. When you go home, pull out the jar of old coins. Look closely. Because the story of the $2.6 million penny proves one thing. Treasures aren't always locked in vaults or buried in treasure chests. Sometimes, they're hiding in plain sight, in your change, your drawers, your pockets. This coin almost ended up forgotten in a dusty jar of change. A penny most people would have spent without a second thought. Yet, one rare 1964 D mint marked Lincoln Memorial penny shocked the coin world when it was discovered to be worth not just thousands, not just hundreds of thousands, but up to $2.7 million. How could such an ordinary-looking penny carry a price tag that could change a collector's life forever? The answer lies in a hidden story of minting, mistakes, and mystery that has baffled experts for decades. In 1964, America was in the middle of massive change. Silver coins were still in circulation, the mint was under pressure, and billions of Lincoln pennies were being struck in both Philadelphia and Denver. Most of these coins were perfectly ordinary, but a small handful carried something extraordinary. Something the average person's eye would never notice. Collectors whisper about it. Dealers guard their knowledge of it. And yet, this tiny detail, if spotted, could turn a single penny into a multi-million-dollar treasure. But what happened next stunned even the most seasoned numismatists. A man sorting through his father's old coin collection stumbled across a handful of 1964 D Lincoln Memorial pennies. They looked like any other coin. Brown copper, worn edges, nothing flashy. But one penny seemed just a little different. The color shimmered strangely under the light, the strike seemed sharper, and the weight felt off by just the tiniest fraction. He almost dismissed it. He almost tossed it back in the pile. But curiosity pushed him to get it checked. When experts examined the coin, jaws dropped. This was no ordinary penny. It had been struck under extraordinary circumstances, a minting anomaly so rare, so unique, that only a handful are believed to exist, and when it hit the auction block, bidding was fierce. Dealers raised paddles, collectors clutched their seats, and the price climbed higher and higher until it crossed the unthinkable mark. The hammer fell at nearly $2.7 million. Yes, a penny, a 1-cent coin, selling for millions. But here's the most haunting part. Experts believe there are still more of these coins out there, sitting quietly in old piggy banks, hiding in dusty dresser drawers, forgotten in jars of change passed down through families, and most people wouldn't even recognize one if they were holding it. What invisible detail transforms it from pocket change into a fortune? The answer lies in the mint mark. The D on this penny stands for Denver, the mint responsible for producing hundreds of millions of 1964 pennies. But in rare cases, something went wrong. A die was used longer than it should have been. A planchet wasn't quite right. Striking pressure created unusual features. The result? A small group of pennies with doubled features, unusual metal compositions, or off-center strikes. These errors are so subtle, most people miss them. But for those who know what to look for, the reward is staggering. Imagine holding one penny that looks like any other, but under magnification you see it. The doubling on Lincoln's profile. The sharp, unusual texture in the memorial columns. A misplaced D mint mark that doesn't belong where it should. That tiny imperfection is the golden ticket. And yet, the story doesn't end there. In 2018, another collector brought forward a 1964 D penny, claiming it too showed these strange anomalies. Rumors spread like wildfire through coin forums. Could this be another multi-million-dollar find? Could lightning strike twice? Auction houses received calls nonstop. Experts lined up to test the coin. And though not every discovery reaches the $2.7 million level, each new example fuels the dream, the possibility that anyone, anywhere, could stumble across the next legendary coin. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on 1964 pennies. Collectors are combing through rolls by the thousands. Because when a coin like this appears, history repeats itself. The world watches, the bidding wars begin, and lives are changed overnight. But here's where the suspense deepens. First, check the mint mark. The D should be clear, but in some rare cases, it shows signs of doubling or strange placement. Second, study Lincoln's profile, his eye, his mouth, his bow tie. If you see doubled lines or unusual strikes, don't ignore it. Third, the weight and composition. Some of these rare 1964 pennies have unusual planchets, making them feel just slightly different in the hand. Never dismiss a coin just because it looks ordinary. The rarest treasures often hide in plain sight. Collectors who passed over these pennies once now look back with regret, knowing they could have held a life-changing fortune in their hands. Think about it. One man's pocket change became a miracle worth millions. One overlooked penny shocked the entire collecting world. And one discovery proved that even the smallest coin can hold the biggest secret. This is more than just a penny. It's a story of chance, luck, and the extraordinary hidden inside the ordinary. And now, the next discovery could be yours. So check your coins. Look closer. Hold them to the light, study every detail, and never underestimate what a single penny can become. Because the 1964 mint marked Lincoln Memorial Penny, the coin most people spent without a thought, is worth up to $2.7 million. A simple Lincoln Memorial Penny, dated 1980, no mint mark on its surface, looking no different than the pennies you see every single day. It doesn't shine with gold. It doesn't look like a treasure. But collectors around the world know, this coin hides a secret so powerful, so rare, it has shocked the entire coin collecting community. And here's the part most people can't believe. A coin you'd normally toss in a jar, forget in your car's cup holder, or spend without a second thought could be worth up to $2.8 million. The story begins in 1980, a year when the United States Mint was producing billions of pennies. Copper was still being used, but a change was coming. Just 2 years later, in 1982, the mint would switch to a cheaper copper-coated zinc composition. Collectors now look back and realize that coins from this period, especially those with rare mistakes, became legends. But in 1980, one specific error slipped into circulation. A no-mint mark penny, struck in Philadelphia, was minted with unusual variations that only a handful of people ever noticed. At first glance, it looked ordinary. But under closer inspection, something was different. One collector, years later, spotted it inside a small box of change passed down from his grandfather. He almost ignored it, almost spent it. But something about the way the coin's lettering looked caught his eye. That single moment of hesitation turned into the discovery of a coin worth more than most people earn in a lifetime. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Auction houses began buzzing. Dealers whispered rumors of 1980 pennies selling not for a few hundred, not for a few thousand, but for millions. Collectors rushed to their safes, their coin jars, their old family piggy banks. Could it be true? Could a simple penny be worth more than a mansion? This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The 1980 no-mint mark Lincoln Memorial Penny comes with extremely rare die errors. Some show double features in Lincoln's portrait. Some have unusual spacing in the date. And in the rarest cases, small variations in the strike create a coin so unique, so irreplaceable, that a bidding war erupts the moment one surfaces. Dealers have called it the ghost coin because so few examples have been confirmed. When one appears, it vanishes quickly, snatched up by wealthy collectors who know they may never see another in their lifetime. Many of these pennies are still out there, hidden in pocket change, forgotten in dusty drawers, sitting in glass jars and American kitchens. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Another collector, searching through bulk rolls of pennies from his local bank, stumbled upon a coin he almost didn't notice. Worn, dirty, unremarkable, until he flipped it under a magnifier. The details told a story no ordinary coin could tell. That discovery changed his life forever. Picture yourself emptying your pockets tonight. You see a penny, dated 1980. You almost toss it aside. But something makes you pause. You look closer. No mint mark under the date. A slight doubling in the lettering. Could it be? Could this be the one coin that turns your ordinary night into the moment you'll never forget? Collectors have described the feeling as electric. Dealers have admitted their hands shook as they held the coin. Because when you realize a piece of copper, worth just 1 cent, has the power to bring you $2 million or more, the world stops. But what makes the 1980 no-mint mark penny so dangerous to overlook is how ordinary it seems. It blends in perfectly. It hides in plain sight. And that is why so many people have missed their chance. This is the moment to reset your attention. Because what I'm about to tell you could mean the difference between letting a fortune slip away or changing your life forever. The date must read 1980. Beneath the date, there should be no mint mark. Normally, Philadelphia pennies lack a mint mark, but what makes this year stand out is the striking anomalies. Look carefully at Lincoln's eye, his lips, and the edges of the lettering. In some rare versions, doubling appears, almost like a shadow of the letters. Other examples reveal tiny misalignments in the strike, or even off-center features. These are the signs that transform a penny into a treasure worth millions. Not every 1980 no-mint mark penny is valuable. The vast majority are worth face value, just 1 cent. This is why patience and careful inspection are key. Most people quit too early. Most people give up after looking at a handful. But the collectors who never stop searching, the ones who understand that miracles hide in plain sight, are the ones who find them. And when they do, the results are staggering. Stories circulate of coins selling for staggering sums. 1.2 million, 1.7 million, even up to $2.8 million. All because someone dared to look closer. Now, let me ask you, how many times have you brushed off a penny, let it roll across the floor, ignored it as worthless? How many times have you emptied a coin jar without a second glance? That tiny habit might have cost you a fortune, because right now, somewhere in America, in a drawer, a jar, a forgotten coffee can, sits a 1980 no-mint mark Lincoln penny that could rewrite someone's future. Maybe it belongs to you. Maybe it's waiting for you to notice. Collectors call it the thrill of the hunt. But for some, it becomes more than that. It becomes destiny. Because the moment you find a coin like this, you realize that hidden treasures don't just belong in history books or museums. They belong in your own hands. And so, as you go about your life, remember this. The 1980 no-mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny is not just a coin. It's a test. A question. A chance disguised as something ordinary. Yes, you heard that right. A simple Lincoln penny from 1973, with a small D stamped beneath the date, has stunned the coin-collecting world, with certain rare varieties fetching up to $2.9 million. And the craziest part? Most people have no idea they might be holding one in their hands right now. But how could such an ordinary-looking penny become one of the most valuable coins in existence? That's where the mystery begins. In 1973, the Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of Lincoln Memorial cents. They rolled off the presses by the ton, tucked into change drawers, soda machines, and bank rolls across America. At first glance, there's nothing special about them. Copper-colored, simple, and ordinary. But hidden among these countless coins, a few mistakes slipped through. Errors so rare, so bizarre, that today they have transformed these pennies into legendary treasures. Collectors were stunned when the first report surfaced. A single 1973 penny, showing a tiny flaw that most eyes would miss, sold at auction for a staggering sum. The whispers spread through the numismatic community like wildfire. Could it really be true? Could a penny from the 1970s, an era when coins were mass-produced like never before, be worth millions? And then, the proof came. Auction houses began to see record-breaking bids. Private sales whispered of fortunes changing hands. One story tells of a man who found a flawless 1973 penny tucked away in an old jar of coins his father left behind. That single coin turned out to be worth more than his house, more than his retirement savings, more than he ever dreamed of. The answer lies in details so small, so hidden, that only the most careful eyes could ever catch them. Some 1973 pennies were struck on the wrong planchets, meaning instead of being pressed onto the usual copper alloy, they were mistakenly struck on experimental or foreign coin blanks. Imagine a penny struck on a silver-colored planchet meant for a dime. Suddenly, a coin that should weigh 3.11 grams is lighter, thinner, and unlike anything else in circulation. That mistake turns pocket change into $1 million miracle. But that's not the only error. Some 1973 pennies showed doubled dies, where the image of Lincoln's profile, or the lettering of "In God We Trust," or "Liberty," appears faintly doubled. It's a haunting, ghost-like duplication, and when sharp enough, collectors will pay nearly anything to own it. And then there's the condition. This is where fortunes are made or lost. You see, most pennies from 1973 are scratched, dirty, or worn down from decades of use. But the rare few that somehow survived in pristine, uncirculated condition, shining like the day they left the Denver Mint, are the ones that sell for staggering amounts. That's why professional graders, those experts who examine every edge and surface of a coin, play such a crucial role. A penny graded MS-67 or higher could transform into a seven-figure prize. These coins are still out there, hidden in bank rolls, sitting in forgotten coffee cans, stashed in old piggy banks that haven't been opened in 40 years. One collector recalls buying a small lot of pennies at a flea market for just a few dollars. Buried among the dull copper coins was a flawless 1973 penny with a double die obverse. That discovery alone set him up for life. Imagine walking away with what you thought was junk, only to realize you're holding a coin worth more than $2 million. And what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Auction prices began climbing higher than anyone expected. Collectors fought fiercely, each desperate to own a piece of this history. Dealers whispered about hidden hoards. And ordinary people, just like you, began checking their pockets, their drawers, and their old jars of coins, hoping lightning might strike. But most people miss it. They spend these pennies without a second thought. They overlook the weight difference. They ignore the tiny doubling in the letters. They dismiss a slightly shinier finish. And in doing so, they let $1 million opportunity slip right through their fingers. 1973, with a small D under the year. Then look closely, really closely. If the lettering on Liberty or In God We Trust looks doubled or ghosted, you may have stumbled upon a doubled die. Next, weigh the coin. A normal copper penny should weigh about 3.11 grams. If your coin is noticeably lighter or heavier, it could have been struck on the wrong planchet, and that's where the real money lies. Condition matters too. A beat-up penny might still be worth a little, but a flawless, mint-state example? That's the one that could change your life forever. Collectors were shocked when one pristine specimen sold for nearly $2.9 million. Just think about that. A penny worth more than a mansion. Dealers are still hunting for the next discovery. And who knows? The next record-breaking coin could be in your possession right now. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, when you open that old change jar that's been gathering dust, take a closer look. Because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. The coin I'm about to reveal looks ordinary at first glance. A single Lincoln Memorial penny from 1988 with no mint mark. To most people, it's worth exactly 1 cent. A penny you'd toss into a tip jar or drop into a couch cushion. But this tiny piece of copper and zinc has a secret so powerful, so rare, that in the right condition, it can be worth up to $3 million. Imagine that for a moment. 1 cent, transformed into a fortune large enough to buy your dream home, change your family's future, and rewrite the story of your life. And it all begins with a coin so common, most people have handled thousands of them without ever realizing the truth. But what exactly makes the 1988 no-mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny so extraordinary? Why do collectors chase after it like treasure hunters searching for lost gold? To answer that, we have to travel back in time, to a year when the U.S. Mint unknowingly created one of the most mysterious, valuable, and life-changing mistakes in American coinage history. A year of change. The Lincoln Memorial penny had already been circulating for decades. Millions rolled off the presses. But in the chaos of production, something went wrong. A mix-up at the mint. A detail so small, so easy to miss, that almost no one caught it. But the few who did saw something that left them speechless. The coin looked normal on the surface. Lincoln's familiar profile. The iconic memorial on the back. No mint mark, meaning it came from Philadelphia. But look closer, and suddenly, the mystery begins to unfold. This is where things get interesting. Some 1988 pennies were struck with the wrong reverse design. Instead of the standard memorial reverse intended for that year, a different reverse die, one meant for the following year, 1989, was accidentally used. This tiny design mix-up created one of the most valuable Lincoln cents of all time. Collectors call it the 1988 reverse of 1989 variety. It's subtle, almost invisible unless you know what you're looking for. But once you see it, you can never unsee it. Almost nobody checks their 1988 pennies closely enough. Thousands of people have probably had this coin in their hands, paid it out at the grocery store, slipped it into a piggy bank, or left it sitting in a jar of change on the counter, without realizing they were holding a fortune. That's the moment that stunned the entire coin world. One collector, digging through ordinary pocket change, spotted something strange. The details on the back didn't match. He compared it to another penny, and realized the impossible. He had discovered a rare minting mistake, hiding in plain sight. That single coin, pulled from circulation, was later graded and sold for an astonishing price, enough to make headlines. From that moment on, the 1988 no-mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny became a legend. Collectors went wild. Dealers scrambled to get their hands on one. And values skyrocketed. But here's where the story gets even more dramatic. Condition is everything. A worn-down example might bring in hundreds or thousands. But a pristine, untouched, mint-condition penny, with that rare reverse design, is what sends the price into the stratosphere. We're talking 6 figures. We're talking over $1 million. And in the rarest cases, the most flawless examples, up to $3 million. Think about that. A single cent, becoming worth more than a luxury mansion. But what makes this coin so dangerous to overlook is just how normal it looks. If you don't know the exact detail, you'll miss it. And that means you could have one sitting in your house right now without ever realizing. Here's the secret. On the reverse, the side with the Lincoln Memorial, focus on the letters A and M in America. On most pennies from 1988, those letters look a certain way. But on the rare 1988 with the reverse of 1989, the spacing, the shape, the design is slightly different. It's subtle. It's microscopic. But it's there. That's the fingerprint of a coin worth a fortune. But there's another catch. Fakes exist. Shady sellers try to pass off ordinary pennies as the real thing. That's why collectors demand authentication, grading from trusted companies like PCGS or NGC. If you think you've found one, never clean it, never damage it, and get it certified. Because once it's authenticated, the value could change your life forever. And this is why the story of the 1988 no-mint Mark Lincoln Memorial penny continues to capture hearts and imaginations. It's not just about the money. It's about the idea that something so small, so overlooked, could hold a secret so massive. Collectors whisper about it at coin shows. Dealers display it like a crown jewel. And treasure hunters across America search through jars, drawers, and dusty rolls of pennies, hoping to uncover the miracle that could make them millionaires. Just picture it. You're at the kitchen table, sorting through a roll of pennies from the bank. One by one, they slip through your fingers. They all look the same. Until suddenly, you notice something. A difference in the design. Your heart races. You compare it again. And then it hits you. You're holding the rare 1988 reverse of 1989 penny. In that instant, your life changes forever. And here's the most inspiring part. Stories like this aren't just fantasy. Real people, ordinary collectors, have pulled coins like this from circulation and turned them into fortunes. It has happened before. It can happen again. And maybe, just maybe, you'll be the next one. So tonight, when you get home, take a closer look at those pennies in the jar. Check the change in your pocket. Don't ignore the coins you've carried for years. Because that 1 cent could be worth $3 million. Yes, $3 million. Enough to buy freedom, security, and a future you never thought possible. The 1988 no-mint Mark Lincoln Memorial penny is more than just money. It's proof that miracles still exist in the most ordinary places. And remember this final truth. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million.